You've been lied to about how banks work. Not in some dramatic conspiracy theory way, in the boring, profitable way that nobody ever bothers to correct. You were told your bank treats every customer the same, that the only difference between you and the guy in the corner office at Chase is a credit score and maybe a shinier debit card. That's not how it works. That's not even close to how it works. Here's what's actually going on. There are invisible lines drawn across the entire banking system. Cross one, and the fees disappear. Not because you negotiated, not because you called and complained. They just vanish. Cross another line, and a human being picks up the phone on the first ring. Someone who already knows your name, who's been assigned specifically to your account, who gives you their direct cell number. Cross the third line, and the bank doesn't just serve you anymore. It starts working for you, actively, aggressively, in ways that make you wealthier while you sleep. And here's the part that should genuinely bother you. These lines aren't advertised. There's no pamphlet that says, deposit this much and we'll stop bleeding you dry. The people below the lines don't even know the lines exist, and the people above them have zero incentive to tell you. Why would they? The machine is running exactly as designed. Today, we're ripping the curtain off the 3 net worth levels where banks fundamentally change how they treat you, where the fees flip, the rates shift, and the doors open to financial products most people will never know exist. We're going to walk through exactly what happens at each level, why the system was built this way, and, this is the part I actually care about, what you can do about it, even if you're nowhere close to these thresholds right now. There's a third level that's going to break your brain a little. We'll get there. But first, let me introduce you to someone. Elliot is 31, logistics coordinator outside Charlotte, makes about $67,000 a year. Take home after taxes, roughly $4,100 a month. He's not drowning. He's not thriving. He's treading water in that very American way, where everything technically works, but nothing ever gets ahead. Rent eats a third. Car, insurance, gas, another big chunk. At the end of every month, maybe a few $100 slides into savings. Currently sitting at about 11 grand. No investment accounts, a 401k he contributes just enough to get the match and then forgets exists. Elliot banks with a national chain. Has since college. And here's what his experience actually looks like. He pays a monthly maintenance fee because his balance dips below the minimum a few times a year. His savings rate is so low, it's genuinely insulting next to the inflation number. When he needed a personal loan for an emergency car repair, the rate they offered him was steep. Not because his credit was bad, because he had no leverage, no assets worth protecting. To the bank, he was just a row in a spreadsheet. And when he calls customer service, 20 minutes, 40 minutes. A phone tree designed by someone who clearly hates human beings. When he finally reaches a person, that person has never heard of him and reads from a script. Elliot isn't being mistreated. He's being categorized. The bank looked at his balances, his patterns, his total value to their bottom line, and put him in a box. He doesn't know which box. He doesn't even know there are boxes. But the box determines everything. The fees, the rates, the speed at which someone answers his call, whether anyone at that institution will ever proactively reach out to help him. This is what I call the access tax. The invisible surcharge you pay when your net worth falls below the levels where banks start competing for your loyalty. Below those levels, you chase them. Above them, they chase you. Now let me show you where the lines actually are. The first threshold where banks meaningfully change their behavior is around $100,000 in combined deposits and investments. Below that, you're what the industry internally calls a mass market customer. That's not a compliment. It means you're being served at the lowest possible cost. Automated systems, generic products, fee structures engineered to extract maximum revenue from minimum balances. The bank isn't losing money on you. They're lending your deposits out at rates far above what they pay you. But you're not profitable enough for them to invest real human resources into keeping you. When someone like Elliot eventually crosses that line, something shifts. Not overnight, but meaningfully. This is where you enter preferred or premier banking. Monthly fees vanish. Your savings rate ticks up. Not life-changing, but your money stops losing value quite as fast. You get a priority service line. Not a personal banker yet, but a shorter queue staffed by people who can actually do something. But here's where the access tax really gets nasty. Credit. When you have 6 figures on deposit and you walk in asking for a mortgage, the conversation is structurally different. The loan officer isn't just running your credit score. They're looking at your relationship. They see the balances, the history, and they have discretion, actual human discretion, to offer better terms, lower rates, reduced fees. Elliot, with his current balances, gets none of that. He pays more to borrow money than someone with identical credit who simply has more cash sitting in the same building. Not because he's riskier, because the other person has something the bank doesn't want to lose. Fee waivers on wire transfers, free cashier's checks, better foreign exchange rates. Small things individually, but they add up to over $1,000 a year in costs that simply evaporate once you cross the line. Okay, now I want you to pay close attention, because this next level is where the whole game flips upside down. The second threshold is around $500,000 to $1 million in investable assets. Not your house, not your car. Liquid wealth. Money the bank can touch, manage, and build products around. This is where you leave preferred banking and enter private banking, wealth management, whatever the institution wants to call it. The name changes, the experience is shockingly consistent everywhere. You get a named advisor, a real person who is compensated, at least partially, based on keeping you happy and keeping your assets at their institution. They give you a direct phone number, not a 1-800 line, a cell phone. They respond to emails same day. You have a problem? You don't navigate a menu. You call David or Rachel or whoever's been assigned to your account like a financial bodyguard. But the service isn't even the important part. The products are. At this level, banks unlock investment vehicles and lending structures that literally do not exist for customers below the line. Institutional share classes with lower fees, portfolio lines of credit, loans secured against your investments at rates so low they'd make Elliot sick. You need a few $100,000 for a renovation or a business opportunity? Instead of selling investments and eating a massive tax hit, you borrow against them. Your portfolio keeps compounding, the loan costs almost nothing. In some cases, the interest is deductible. This is what I call the compounding privilege. The moment the banking system stops being a place where you park money and becomes a machine that multiplies it. Below this level, your bank is a utility, a pipe where your paycheck enters and your rent exits. Above it, your bank is a partner, and partners share tools that utilities never will. And banks are wildly profitable on these clients. Management fees, lending spreads, cross-selling insurance and estate planning, it's a gold mine. So they invest heavily in keeping you. They send gifts, they host dinners, they make introductions. The relationship stops being transactional and becomes almost social. Elliot has no idea this world exists. And that's not his fault. It was designed that way. Now, the third level. And honestly, this is the part that made me a little angry when I first understood it. Meet someone I'll call Sarah, 47, sold her logistics company for $8 million, has about $5.2 million in investable assets with one institution. Here's what her banking life looks like, and I want you to compare it to Elliot's in your head while I describe this. Sarah doesn't call the bank. The bank calls her. Not to sell her something, to warn her. Her advisor sees a tax law shifting next quarter that could affect her holdings, so he calls on a Tuesday morning with a strategy already drafted. Her estate plan needs updating because of a new regulation. They've already coordinated with her attorney. She's thinking about buying property in Lisbon. They have a team for that. Literally, a team. People whose entire job is to make sure her money moves across borders without friction, without unnecessary tax exposure, without her having to Google a single thing. But the real game at this level isn't service, it's access. Banks at this tier offer investment opportunities that don't exist on any public platform. Private equity deals, pre-IPO allocations, real estate syndications, structured products designed to generate returns while minimizing taxes in ways that are perfectly legal but completely invisible to anyone outside the room. Sarah's not picking from a menu. The menu is being written for her. And lending? The concept of interest rates becomes almost negotiable. She's not accepting terms, she's discussing them. The bank wants her assets on their balance sheet so badly that borrowing starts to feel less like debt and more like a partnership, where both sides are optimizing the same outcome. This is the point where money stops flowing away from you through fees and friction and starts flowing toward you through access and compounding advantages that stack on top of each other year after year. Below this level, you're swimming upstream. Above it, the current carries you. None of this is secret, it's just quiet. The thresholds are real, the information exists, but nobody at Elliot's branch is ever going to sit him down and hand him the map. So what does someone like Elliot actually do about it? Because knowing the map exists is useless without a route. Here's the system. I call it the consolidation play, and it works whether you're starting from 5 figures or 6. Step 1. Pick one institution and commit. This is where most people blow it. They've got checking at one bank, savings at another, a brokerage through some app they downloaded at 2 a.m., and a retirement account from a job they left 3 years ago. That fragmentation is killing them. Banks don't measure your value based on what you have in total. They measure what you have with them. Elliot's got 11 grand in savings, a growing 401k, and a checking account running his daily life. If all of that lived under one roof, one institution that could see the full picture, his relationship value would look completely different. Consolidation isn't just organization, it's leverage you're currently leaving on the table. Step 2. Automate the climb toward the first threshold. Not with some aggressive savings plan that makes you miserable by week 3, just a recurring transfer, a few hundred a month into the highest yield account that institution offers. The goal isn't speed, the goal is visibility. Every dollar that lands raises your profile inside their system. You're not just saving, you're signaling. Step 3. And this is the move nobody makes because it feels presumptuous. Ask for the upgrade before you qualify. Most banks have soft thresholds. The published number says one thing, but a branch manager has discretion. If you're at 70% of the threshold and you walk in, sit down, and say, "I'm consolidating everything here. I'm on a trajectory to hit your preferred tier within the next year. What can you do for me now?" You'd be stunned how often they say yes. They'd rather lock in a growing relationship early than watch you walk across the street to a competitor. Step 4. Use every unlocked benefit immediately. Fee waiver? Make sure it's applied. Better rate? Move your savings into it the same week. Credit offer with improved terms? Refinance whatever ugly debt you're carrying. Every benefit you don't activate is a benefit that compounds for the bank instead of for you. This isn't about gaming the system. It's about understanding that the system already has a game running, and right now, you're probably not even playing. So, Elliot's sitting in his apartment outside Charlotte, scrolling through his banking app, watching the same maintenance fee hit his checking account for the third month in a row. He doesn't know about the line at 100,000. He doesn't know about the private banker who picks up on the first ring. He definitely doesn't know that there are people whose banks call them with strategies to save more in a single quarter than he earns in a year. But now you do. And knowing changes exactly one thing: what you do next. The access tax is real. Every month you sit below those thresholds, you're paying more, earning less, and borrowing at worse terms than someone the bank has decided is worth fighting for. That cost doesn't show up on any statement, but it compounds just as ruthlessly as interest does. You can keep banking the way you've always banked, passively, invisibly, or you can consolidate, negotiate, move with intention, and start making the system work as hard for you as it works for the people it was actually designed to serve. Elliot's bank isn't going to change, but Elliot can make them wish they'd paid attention to him a whole lot sooner.